room for a pledge of allegiance and then a moment of silence for military and public safety personnel, past and present.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to make for the record for everybody out there that's watching on TV or listening, Councilman Shantz is unable to attend the meeting tonight for personal reasons, so it's just Councilman McCluskey and myself. Next up is the review of minutes from past meetings, and I see April 9th, 2020 meeting and budget work session minutes.
I don't have any changes on all of them, so I'm happy to make a motion to approve all three as presented.
Okay, so you make a motion to approve the April 19th, or 9th, 16th, and 23rd.
Correct, as presented. Yep.
Okay, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up is the closed session statements. So I guess we're going to read those individually?
Sure.
Okay, so the first one's April 16th.
April 16th, the closed session announcement. Town Council met in closed session on Thursday, April 16th, 2020 at 6:26 p.m. at the Liberty Building, 107 North Liberty Street. Second floor meeting room to consult with council, discuss the acquisition of land, and discuss personnel in accordance with the Maryland Open Meetings Act. All three members of the Town Council voted to close the session. The authority to close the session is found in sections 3-305 of the General Provisions article. The Town Council discussed the following topics: consult with council, discuss lease agreements and the zoning matter, personnel, discuss compensation of specific employees, land acquisition, discuss potential acquisition of land. Actions: no actions were taken. Following members and staff were present: Jeffrey C. Morgan, President; Timothy McCluskey, Vice President; Joshua E. Shantz, Member; Steve Walls, Town Manager; Sharon Van Emberg, Town Attorney; Karen Luffman, Finance Officer; and Crystal Ebal, Human Resource Manager, were present for part of the meeting. Meeting adjourned at 7:16 p.m.
Okay, the next one is April 23rd, 2020.
Closed session announcement regarding Town Council closed session April 23rd, 2020. This was the session that was before the regular meeting. The Town Council met in closed session on Thursday, April 23rd, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. at the Liberty Building, 107 North Liberty Street, second floor meeting room to consult with council and discuss personnel in accordance with the Maryland Open Meetings Act. All three members of Town Council voted to close the session. The authority to close the session is found in section 3-305 of the General Provisions article. Town Council discussed the following topics: consult with council, discuss lease agreements, developer agreement, and advice on legal matters. Actions: town manager to have follow-up discussions with individuals associated with lease agreements, the developer agreement, and legal matters. The following members and staff were present: Jeffrey C. Morgan, President; Timothy McCluskey, Vice President; Joshua E. Shantz, Member; Steve Walls, Town Manager; and Sharon Van Emberg, Town Attorney. The meeting adjourned at 7:11 p.m.
Okay, we're going to have a second one for the 23rd.
The second closed session that occurred after the regular meeting was April 23rd. The Town Council met in closed session on Thursday, April 23rd, 2020 at 7:49 p.m. at the Liberty Building, 107 North Liberty Street, second floor meeting room to discuss personnel in accordance with the Maryland Open Meetings Act. All three members of the Town Council voted to close the session. The authority to close the session is found in section 3-305 of the General Provisions article. Town Council discussed the following topics: personnel, discuss performance evaluation and contractual agreement of an employee. No actions taken. The following members and staff were present: Jeffrey C. Morgan, President; Timothy McCluskey, Vice President; Joshua E. Shantz, Member; Steve Walls, Town Manager; and Kenneth Rose, Chief of Police. The meeting adjourned at 8:36 p.m.
Okay, and the final one is April 30th, 2020.
Closed session announcement regarding Town Council closed session April 30th, 2020. Town Council met in closed session on Thursday, April 30th, 2020 at 6:45 p.m. at the Centreville Town Hall, 101 Lawyers Road, to consult with council in accordance with the Maryland Open Meetings Act. Two members of the Town Council voted to close the session. The authority to close the session is found in section 3-305 of the General Provisions article. Town council discussed the following topics: consult with council, discuss the potential disposition of town property; personnel, discuss an employment agreement; actions, council authorized town manager to discuss acceptance of an offer with a prospective purchaser. The following members and staff were present: Timothy McCluskey, Vice President; Joshua Shantz, member via telephone; Steve Walls, Town Manager; Sharon Van Emberg, Town Attorney, via telephone; and Jeffrey C. Morgan was present for a portion of the meeting based on advice of council. Meeting adjourned at 7:31 p.m.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. All right, next up, we have a 7:05 p.m. public hearing, resolutions for the charter amendments. We'll go ahead and go through that. The first resolution is Resolution 01-2020, and it's a resolution of the Town Council of Centreville for the purpose of amending the town charter to revise the number of council members, selection and terms, and matters generally related thereto.
So I think technically the public hearing is still going on from last time, right? We haven't received any additional positive or negative for or against comments. So, I mean, if we haven't received any, I mean, can we make a motion to adjourn the hearing and put that down for the record?
Yeah.
Because we're going to be going through the old business later, the resolutions.
Right, and this is a continuation, so we talked and discussed and explained what these were last time, so.
Okay. So I would just state for the record that there have been no additional for or against comments for the public hearing related to Resolution 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, 06, or 07.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up is Citizens Forum. Once again, you're reminded that you can submit your question or your comments or questions through email or any other way that you want to do it to the council to be read on air. I believe Councilman McCluskey is going to read the Citizens Forum comments we do have.
I will, yep. First one is from Joe Wharton. I appreciate your prompt response. My email, maybe I should read this from the bottom first. Based on COVID-19 impact to the community, any property tax increase proposed for the tax year beginning July 1, 2020 should be deferred at least until tax year beginning July 1, 2020. Ms. Brinkley did reply back to him that we're not proposing any tax increases for this year. And then his response was, my email to you is based on the Town of Centreville notice of proposed real estate increase document, which I believe to be a photo of a recent print article, no date shown, that was provided to me by others. Item number 4 of this notice states that the town is considering not reducing the tax rate enough to fully offset the increased assessments. As a practical matter, if we pay the same rate on an increased assessed value, we will be paying additional tax. That is an increase. In my opinion, irrespective of any cutoff dates or other details, a tax increase is not appropriate in these troubled times, nor is it appropriate to plan for future tax increases until the full effects of COVID-19 become more fully apparent, 2+ years. Please pass this clarification on to the town council. We didn't have an assessment this year, so there's not been any assessments that have gone up. Is that correct?
Not for us.
Okay, for all of Centreville. Yep. Okay. Here's another one that is sent from Olivia Mull. As a resident of Centreville for the past 2 years, I have grown to love the small town and rural life. I've been planning on living here for the next 30 years. Unfortunately, mismanagement of the government is abundantly clear with the proposed increase of property tax after our entire nation has been significantly damaged economically due to COVID-19. I am hesitant to make this town my long-term residence. I'm imploring you all to reduce the real property tax to 0.4022, the constant yield tax rate, considering the water contamination, increased frustration, and mismanagement of the water and sewer line repairs, and the debacle of going over budget by $4 million, which conveniently happened to be how much the town had in its savings. Many people of Centreville have had enough. I fear that the local government of Centreville, Maryland cannot act in the best interest of its taxpayers. The town will see a significantly reduced tax base as people relocate. Please consider the future of this community, the financial impact of COVID-19 on families that are already struggling, and reduce the real property tax rate to 4022, the constant yield tax rate. Next one is from Tom Love. Comments on your forthcoming budget meeting. I reviewed the April 24th budget and had the following comments/questions. Review all revenue accounts for both the general and enterprise funds in detail. Some of the numbers do not make sense. For example, on the sewer revenue, you show $244,100 for fiscal year 2021 and $888,643 for FY 2020, an increase of $355,457 or 40%. Note that in the April 24th version of the budget, you showed the FY 2021 number to be 924,188. Another example is on the water revenue. You showed 1102367 for FY 2021 and 787405 for FY 2020, an increase of 314,9620. I think it's just probably 962 or 40%. Note that in April 24th version of the budget, you showed the FY 2021 number to be 818901. Please explain the increase from one version of the budget to the next and why it is 40% rather than 4%. On salaries, you have not included your wish list for increases, so it is hard to tell what your final numbers, both headcount and dollars, will be. Also note that the salaries for the legislature department of $22,500 are overstated by $2,250. The election to increase the size of the council is in October 2020, not July 2020. Therefore, two additional council member salaries need to be prorated rather than budgeted for the full year. Recommend that there be no salary increases this year due to the uncertainty of the economic situation with the coronavirus pandemic. Your wish list for capital budget items is not shown, and therefore I cannot tell you what your needs are. I counted 44 accounts when you are budgeting over $43,000 for FY 2021, when the schedule showed $0 in the actual to-date column. Some of these may be timing of recording expenses, but I believe there are real savings if you review these accounts. In summary, the council needs to present a budget to the community that 1, shows no tax increase, 2, shows an understanding of what is needed during these troubled times, and 3, shows a joint effort on everyone's part to come up with what is needed to provide the necessary services to the Centreville community. Respectfully submitted, Tom Love. Next one is from Tom Love again regarding water and sewer rate increase. The council needs to have a true public meeting concerning the proposal to increase the water and sewer rate from 4 to 40% before implementing the change, and not hide behind these meetings without public attendance. That means waiting until the public can actually attend meetings is paramount so that they can express their views. Recommend the following. Publish an article in the local newspaper explaining what this means to the average family with 2 kids before the meeting so the families can see the impact. Have the presidents of the boards for both Northbrook and Sibley Village provide information to the council on the impact to their communities. Allow more than 3 minutes for individual discussion. This increase has a major impact on families' expenses. Respectfully submitted, Tom Love. Next is from Joe Brown. It is absolutely amazing that in the current environment dealing with the coronavirus that the town of Centreville would even consider raising property taxes, that this is the definition of tone deaf. That is the definition of tone deaf. With many residents forced out of work by government dictates with stay-home orders and or victims of the virus, causing personal incomes to be greatly reduced, where do you think the money is coming from for the taxpayers to pay additional property taxes? You see the food lines for people who can't put food on the table are bigger than ever. Likewise, many businesses were forced to close or reduce capacity and hours, resulting in lower incomes for them, and now you want to increase their property tax. One would expect the highway user taxes, income taxes, sales taxes, etc., to continue to drop, which we have not fully accounted. To be realistic on income projections and fair to residents and businesses, the town should be cutting the tax rate 0.01 to 0.395 at a minimum instead of recommending an increase. Several residents who have previously been involved in the budget process with the town are willing to provide input to the council on areas of the budget and consider cutting to get to the goal. We have spent time reviewing this proposed budget and feel that there are options for cuts to achieve a lower tax rate. Just say the word and we will be there. Lastly, this is supposed to be a public hearing, but it is a meeting without the public, so it is not a public hearing. Is that really legal? The council should have made arrangements for the citizens to appear in public with proper social distancing so that they could speak directly to the council. Next is from Joe Brown regarding increase in water and sewer rates. Now we have the council intending to raise water sewer rates by 40%. What planet are you gentlemen living on? Again, in very difficult times, you propose a gigantic increase. Where are your heads? I will assume this all about the road project that doubled the $4 million budget to cost $8 million. And now you want taxpayers to pick up the tab in one big swoop. Remember, the town council promised residents that an outside auditor would audit this project. No one has seen such an audit. When is that coming? I can tell you, if this was the private sector and a person that in charge doubled the allotted budget, they would no longer be working for that employer. But last year, all town employees got both percentage increases and step increases, and no one lost their job. Now the residents are paying the tab. Wait until those bills hit the mailboxes. Of course, again, this is done in the middle of the virus when residents are not allowed to testify in person, so the council is hiding behind the virus. Why now? Wait until the virus is cleared so residents can speak in person. You need to go back to the drawing board. Next, we have several individuals who sent in the same email. I'll read the email once, and then I'll list who had sent it in. Based on the importance of decision to increase taxes and water bills, in addition to the fact that it is impossible to host a public meeting without any public being present, I am requesting that you postpone voting until your residents have time to speak in person. If you choose not to postpone this vote, instead of finding ways to increase the town's revenue by adding to the expense of the people, you should then consider selling the wharf property in addition to the property located at 105 North Liberty Street. Funds obtained by the sales could pay down other debts, which would eliminate additional burdens on the pockets of the town residents. Over the past few years, the town council's decisions in the construction project have put undue burdens and stress on the people and businesses of this town. It is unfair to make any type of decision without the public being able to voice their consensus. The right thing to do would be to pass a motion to postpone any votes on the subject of increasing taxes and/or water bills until the public can speak in person. Thank you. Sincerely, Jody Simmons, Jennifer Miller, Justin Asher, Larry Reese, Deacon Bob Wilson, Nikki Pino, Jenny Sargent, Adrian Watson, Brent Ziegler, Sean Kalis, Lisa Romer, Royce Home. Most of the same language with these additional comments was sent in. Please consider this action. It would be better to pass a motion to postpone any votes on the subject of increasing taxes and/or water bills until the public can speak in person. That's from Ann and Kevin Cassidy. In addition, one very similar, property taxes and water and sewer rates are currently high for a single retired person such as myself. All the town's population has had to deal with months/years of changes and inconvenience due to infrastructure upgrades. It seems only fair that in the light of the additional financial burdens you will be placing on Centreville citizens, they at least have the opportunity to present their concerns. Helen Benchoff. Individual comments. I previously expressed my displeasure when the rates were raised a few years ago. My sentiments haven't changed, although I can understand inflation and overall cost increases. I believe strongly that those that use more of the town's water and sewer resources should pay a higher rate. Please consider keeping the minimum charge more reasonable, but raising the rate over 6,000 gallons. Andrew Hanson, East Meadow Drive. Please postpone on voting an increase in taxes and water bills until residents can be present to have a say in it. Cecilia Lukanich. Please consider postpone voting on increasing multiple tax increases. It will make our small town very hard to live in. Everyone is struggling at this time. Kathy Mitchell. That's everything that I have on my desk. I assume we're going to get back to these people, written comments we'll send back to them at some point? Okay. And we may discuss some of the things tonight.
All right, so next up is old business, and I guess we're going into the charter amendments again. So first up is Resolution 01-2020. So
What do we need to do with these? Are we just,
You're ready, you're eligible for a vote if you want.
they're ready for a vote? Okay.
want to lump them all together then?
Yeah, I mean, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 01, 2020, 02, 2020, 03, 2020, 04, 2020, 05, 2020, 06, 2020, and 07, 2020 as presented.
Okay, I will second that. So, do we have any discussion? I guess, can we just summarize what these are doing once again, just so the people out there, if anybody new is listening, they can
Maybe just
understand?
read the top one, or, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I guess, I think we just need a summary.
Okay.
And Sharon can just summarize.
Sure, in general, these resolutions collectively are to transition from the 3-member council to the 5-member council. There were some specifics within the existing charter that required updating in order to account for the fact that there will be 5 people, and also to account for how we were going to phase in those additional seats.
And I believe we took mostly all the recommendations that were recommended by the committee that we formed, the ad hoc committee, so we appreciate all their assistance. in
Yeah,
this.
absolutely. They did a great
And
job.
that's it. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, we have, let's see, where are we at? Budget discussion?
Yeah, so we had been talking over the past couple of years, talking about possibly changing the way that we work with comp time and possibly doing something that would be more similar to the county, which would be paying it out on an annual basis instead of it just continuing to accrue. And so what typically has happened is we go through the budget period, we talk about how we want to do that, and then we don't put any money towards it, and then nothing happens. The next year goes by, a new budget session comes up, and we talk about it again, and no money gets into it. This is at least the second, if not third year that we've talked about that. And I just want to either put it out there that we either need to fund it or we need to, figure it out, right? I mean, if we're talking about possibly paying out comp time, coming up with a new policy over the next year, there needs to be money in the budget to do that. So there's various different ways that we could go about that. I had originally proposed the public utility tax, bringing that number up a little bit higher. I don't think the council was interested in that. Another possible way is to look at the tax differential that the county is providing to the town, perhaps taking a bit of that. But we're looking at about a $70,000 is what we have, I think, approximately right now. Is that right? Yep. So I just think if we're going to be talking about this at any time in the next year, we should have the money banked, at least put away, ready to go.
So I guess the problem is you see that that individuals are writing in discussing even though the tax rate is not increasing, an increase. I can't in good conscience right now sit here and talk about adding stuff to the budget that we need to add right now. It's not fair to everybody that's out there. So, and you already know my stance on the tax differential, so I'm not going to go back into that because I'm not changing that, so.
Okay, so I just want everyone to know that this is a liability out there and that it's not being put in the budget, and so that if and when we decide at some point in the future to change the comp time policy, we're going to have to make a budget amendment, and we're going to have to go back and figure out where that money comes from. So that's totally fine. If we can push that off. I just want to remind everyone that when we talk about it this fall, or we want to come up with this policy, we need to think about that.
Well, I don't know that we're looking at any policy changes in the near future. Like, a lot of people have written in with the way things are right now. I don't think we should be looking at anything increase-wise. You've already heard me a couple times make the statement that we needed to kind of freeze everything. And
so if you freeze it, though, if you're freezing comp time, you're making a policy change, right? Or if you're paying it out, you're making a policy change, because we don't have a policy to pay out comp time at this point. In addition, there's also some end of service payments that we haven't included either. So, I think making a determination to change any kind of a policy is going to have financial implications, and it's a liability that we're not acknowledging in a budget that could come back and present a problem to us.
I understand, but now's not the time to look at that kind of issue right now. It can be looked at in the future when revenues are stabilized and we understand where we're going to be.
Okay.
We don't even know where we're going to be. So I can tell you, you just have to look at the different county meetings and see where they're kind of looking at. So there's things that need to be looked at.
I guarantee you that the county puts a budget line item in there for comp time, and they pay it out every year. So it's fine. I mean, I wanted to bring the discussion up. No problem. Let's move on.
All right, we have, next item is fireworks.
I'll just read the memo that we have here. So Monday, May 4th, the department heads met and all agreed that it was in the best interest of our participants who attend the fireworks and the family fun event, our food and event vendors, that the town cancel this year's Family Fun Day and fireworks. With the uncertainty of when large social gatherings will be permitted, as well as the uncertain economic outlook, we felt it best to cancel. And at this time, no contracts have been signed. No money's been exchanged with any of our vendors, so there is no recourse on that. So we were just submitting this to you for your consideration for this year, or your consideration tonight if you...
So is there a possibility of doing it at some point in the future? I was watching the county commissioners meeting the other night, and at their meeting, they're really pushing to have it this year, like to have it at that time, right? The governor's making some changes in terms of opening things back up a little bit more. Who knows what's going to happen in July? But they were talking about possibly, if it didn't work out at the scheduled date they were going to have it, maybe doing it at some point in the fall. So I'm okay with canceling it. It's a shame that we got to do that. I can't imagine with the social distancing that we have right now, how we would pull something like this off. And logistically, it'd be a nightmare. But maybe, if we decide at some point in the future, maybe it's going to be nice in September and things will be back to normal, or somewhat back to normal. Maybe we can, contract for them to do it at that
I don't
point.
think it would be an issue if in August or September we decided we wanted to do it. and went to them. I don't, obviously this is their busy time.
Right.
July is going to be their busy time. I don't think they would have an issue with their schedule bringing anyone in. I hesitate right now to sign any contract,
I
because then
agree.
we are bound where we have to have it,
Yep.
no matter what. So, and my worry is, I don't know what it'll be like, and nobody knows what it's going to be like. And I know things are starting to lift now, but, when will,
All right, what do we have in the
how can we
budget?
control 3,000 people who come out and watch our fireworks?
What do we have in the budget for that right now? It's $5,000?
$5,000.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we cancel the event scheduled for July 2nd, 2020, but the money remain in the budget and remain to be utilized possibly for an event this fall, and if not then, to go into next year's event. Right? I don't want that money to be gone and we lose it. So that's my motion.
I guess we're at a stalemate, because it's going to be canceled for July. It's a July 4th event. If it's going to be canceled this year, it's going to be canceled, and the money is not, we'll do it next year. So I'm not in agreement to try and do something later on, because I don't think later on you're going to have any more or less distancing or anything like that with I don't know that you're going to be able to hold any big events. I mean, even baseball and everything else are looking at holding events with no fans in the stands for the whole year.
So what's the harm in,
Because we're looking for money right now, Tim, and to keep $5,000 in the budget that we don't need to is ridiculous. So let's cancel the event, take the money, put it back in the general fund for whatever else we need. So that's my opinion on it. So I guess we're at a stalemate.
all right, to make it easier, that's fine. I'll amend the motion to cancel it for July 2nd.
Just cancel it and, okay. All right, second that part. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up is new business. Ordinance 5, 2020, FY 2021 budget, first reading.
Why don't we have our finance officer read that one?
Is this what I'm reading?
Yeah, just
Just the top part, right?
well, I would say just the whole, right to where it says a test. I mean, it's pretty short.
All right, wait a minute, right to where it says, oh, okay, so all of this.
Yeah.
An ordinance for the purpose of adopting a budget for the town of Centreville for fiscal year FY '21. Whereas by virtue of the power and authority contained in section 506 of the charter of the town of Centreville, now therefore be it enacted and ordained by the town council of Centreville as below and attached. The summary of revenues and expenditures and attached hereto as Exhibit A pursuant to Section 506 of the Town Charter shall be the budget for fiscal year '21 from July 1, 2020 to June 30, 21. The tax rate levied for FY '21 shall be .405 per 100 of assessed value, and the public utility tax rate for fiscal year '21 shall be $7 per 100 of assessed value, and is incorporated in the attached document which constitutes the budget. The ordinance shall take effect and be in full force effective July 1, 2020.
Okay, so it's still open for public comment.
And we're having a public hearing at our next meeting, is that correct? For this? Is that right?
Yeah, the hearing is next week.
Yeah, the budget hearing and the concert yield hearing is next week.
So I guess before we move on to the next thing, how do we work this so the public can make comments, other than doing it by email or stuff like that?
I have, oh,
Go ahead.
sorry, I had a discussion with QACTV today, George Harvey, and he is, there is a possibility for next week's meeting that they could do a Zoom meeting. However, it will cost additional money because it costs, in addition to Mike doing the camera, it takes 2 additional staff members to do Zoom. So there's an additional cost because they will monitor the comments coming in. They also monitor the traffic to, I guess, security.
And what, they
stuff.
read them off as they come in?
That I'm not sure about. that I'm not sure about.
So we just found $5,000. I'm sure it's going to be less than that. Why don't we use the money for there to enable that to happen? How do you feel about that, Jeff?
I mean, just trying to figure out, I can tell you the virtual meetings sometimes aren't very good, especially depending on where your service is and how bad your service is. People freeze all the time and it can take a long time. So I mean, where do we stand legally? I mean, we have to pass a budget prior to July 1st.
A lot of the Zoom functions also have a call-in for people that can't get the internet service as well. That gives at least you can hear them. You wouldn't be able to see them, but you can also offer an option for people to submit videos if they wanted to give something in person that you could then view. Short of that, unless things open up enough to allow people to appear in person, but that's out of your control, at least in this building. That's a county decision.
I don't want to put
Unfortunately,
anybody,
there's no good option right now.
I don't want to put anybody in harm by making them come out, and I don't want to see a group of people in an area where they don't really need to be. But I do think people have the right to voice their opinion other than through the email. I just don't think that's, I mean, it's working right now, but I don't think it works for this. I think this is an important topic that people need to be heard on, and there's some people out there that aren't going to send in emails and aren't going to do that kind of stuff where they might come in person. So I don't know.
I mean, we got to pass a budget. We're following exactly the way that the county is doing it. People are welcome to give us phone calls, right? My phone number, 443-262-5729. Call me anytime. I'll take a phone call anytime. If you want to meet me outside somewhere and have your opinion, I'll put a mask on and we can go have a discussion. This is my 12th budget hearing, and we've had rate increases, we've had tax increases, all of those. And, I don't ever remember a large number of people who would come in. I mean, this to me, this list of comments that we got tonight is probably the largest list of comments that we've ever had at a public hearing or a public discussion. So I think the opportunities are out there. I just don't know how we're going to make it happen if the options are not there.
And I understand what you're talking about, but you're talking about previous times where you weren't in a pandemic. People had lost their jobs and weren't able to pay and didn't have money and were uncertain where they were going to do for food and stuff like that. I think you have to take that into account. I understand if it was a normal time, yeah, this would be fine. I would have no problem with it. But I just have, and I've voiced my opinion before, I have heartache at some of this stuff when the way things are right now. And we don't have a clear picture of the way it's going to be.
So we do have a plan in place. If people cannot pay their water bills, then there's not going to be any water that's going to be turned off. There's no fees that are going to be assessed, and if they can't pay it, they essentially can defer it out. Again, this is my 12th one of these, and it's never a good year. I started out when we were in the middle of the worst recession since the Depression, and things got better. Last year, things were better, much better 2 years ago as well. But yet all I would hear is things are bad, things are bad. I get it, and I understand this is the worst we've ever had. My household has been affected by COVID-19, so I totally get it, right? But we also need to look at what is the long-term health of our budget and the long-term health of our town. So I'm not sure how to modify or adapt to what it is that you're looking to do.
I don't know. It's unfortunate that we don't have 3 members here because I think this is something that the full council needs to discuss. And I kind of, I understand there's personal issues, but I kind of have a little heartache. It's like we need to have the council here. This is important. It needs to be discussed, and people are making their comments. Everybody should be discussing this. So, can we look at the Zoom stuff to see what it would cost and how we could do it, and just figure something out?
Sharon, do you have other municipalities that are doing something different or that are trying to make it more interactive?
I've I've participated in some using the Zoom function. They've actually worked pretty well. I haven't done it where it's partially live and partially Zoom. So that I don't know exactly how that works, if there would be a screen here and, if they would show up on that screen, or how you would see them while you're here, and if they see each other or they see the room. I'm not sure how that works, but there are definitely a lot of towns using Zoom or Skype or call-in, or they're all doing what you all are doing, because there's not really any other options.
So let's figure out if there's a way we can make it work, the pro version or whatever for next week's meeting, and everybody would have an opportunity to call in or, make their public comment at the public hearing.
You guys can watch the planning commission that we filmed this morning. We did it interactively with Zoom.
Okay, did it work out pretty well? And that was a big one, so I did see a couple of minutes of that. Okay, let's figure that out.
So is there a way we can postpone this and do it the next meeting when we're actually going to have public
Postpone
comments?
what?
Well, we have the ordinance for the first reading for the utility rates and all that.
Yeah, we're just doing a first reading. We're just basically introducing it. We're not actually passing anything or making any motions. We're just basically saying, here it is.
I understand that, but I think people want to be able to make their voices known, and I believe in the public having the option to speak. And
So,
they might not agree with what we do, but democracy is based on people having their voice.
I get it. So typically the way that the ordinances work is you have a first reading, it's introduced, then you have a public hearing, then you have a second reading. So we're doing the first reading tonight. Basically, what we're essentially doing is we're giving the option now to the people to see it and then comment on it, right? I mean, we typically don't release ordinances until the first reading is done. So we're not taking any actions on it tonight. Essentially, if we were going to do it next week, then we really shouldn't have a public comment because it wouldn't technically even be a part of the legislative record.
Okay. Go ahead. You can read ordinance 6/2020 then. I'll allow you to read.
Yep, all right. Ordinance, Town Council of Centreville, Ordinance 06/2020, an ordinance of the Town Council of Centreville establishing the Town of Centreville water and sewer user fees and service fees for both metered and unmetered customers. I'm going to submit the rest I think it's on our website. I'll submit the rest as first reading. Steve, were there some discussions you wanted us to have tonight, or should we hold off on those?
Yes, Karen had just a couple items that were listed in here, just want to make note of as far as some changes, proposed changes. Go ahead, Karen.
Okay, so the first discussion would be the water outside of town rate per thousand is less than the water in town rate per thousand over 6,000. So the first thing we were going to try to address was making the 728 the same as the regular water, which was 771, so that they were the same. We only actually have one account that's affected, that's out of town. They have their own sewer, but they have town water.
And if the council were, agreeable to what Karen just proposed, we would just amend the rate schedule.
Okay. I mean, first of all, it definitely should be at least as much. I think it actually should be more.
Right.
Because as we've had discussions in past, we're not giving a true allocation. The enterprise fund, the utility is not paying for itself. Therefore, property taxes are going towards paying some of the enterprise, the utility costs. These individuals, even if it's only one, that it does not pay property taxes in town, is getting the benefit of being subsidized.
Right.
So I'm not sure what the number was. I think I remember back in the day when the high school was out of town, they paid double. Their rates were double. And so I think it should be double whatever the in-town rate is.
I think it should be increased, but I'm not willing to do anything without the third council member here. I think it's something that needs to be discussed by the whole council.
All right, so you're just highlighting these right now, right?
Yeah, I'll just highlight a few things for, maybe we can discuss at the next one. Not sure if next time we want to have any discussion on the public utility rate at $7 or $10, or just stick with the $7. If you want to have any discussion for the property tax rate of 0.405 to possibly the 0.4022, which is the constant yield, The difference in revenue is only about 16,000.
Are you still doing the ordinance?
No,
here?
I'm just going over a few.
Was that the only change in the ordinance
No.
that you were asking for? Let's do the ordinance
The
first, please.
vacant, was that vacant lot on this ordinance? Yeah.
The enterprise ones.
The vacant lot fee, increasing from $27 to $40 and possibly higher, as this hasn't been raised in, I don't even know, it's been over 20 years, I think. So right now it's, last time we talked about it, we discussed putting it at $40, but that may be something we want to discuss a little further. Late fee increasing from $15 to $30. Delinquent fee increase. Currently it's 0, and what this is the point where we put the hang tags out. So we spend a lot of admin time and effort preparing the 200 hang tags we do every quarter, because there's no fee. And so if we put a fee out there, there would likely be less people that we would get to that point. Disconnect fee, we're decreasing it. It's currently $100. We would decrease it to $50. And the last one would be the $100 admin fee for the larger meters, because of the admin time to find the vendors that have them. The meters itself are more expensive, and that's it.
Okay. And any fees, delinquent fees, et cetera, all of that would not occur until after all the pandemic is over, right?
Yes, correct, yep.
Okay.
You want to go ahead and discuss what you were discussing before we get to the other
Yeah,
stuff?
so just 3 quick things. The public utility tax rate, if you guys wanted to discuss anything outside of the $7. The property tax rate, going from possibly 0.405, which is where we are currently. It's the same as last year. Somebody had mentioned the constant yield rate of 0.4022. If you did make that motion, the difference in revenue would decrease about 16,000. But leaving it at 0.405, the difference per household, if you divide it equally, is only $8 per household. And then, just a heads up, the HUR revenue, I talked to Oki from the state, and he said in light of the current situations, they're reviewing estimates, so there may be changes in what we currently will get for FY20 and possibly what we might get for FY21. I don't have any numbers yet, but he at least put that out there, so I wanted to give you that information. And that's all I have.
Next up is board and commission appointments.
I make a motion to approve Mary Margaret Goodwin to the Centreville Economic Development Authority for a 3-year term expiring 2023.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up is correspondence.
I don't think we have any.
Anything on that? Okay, next up, report of department heads. Town manager.
I guess 2 main things I've been working on over the last couple of weeks, just budget and following up on zoning matters. So,
We got the state coming in, getting started on curb and gutter, and I saw that announcement from Bob Rager, getting ready to do
as far as I know, the schedule they still are planning for on the actual mill and overlay of the asphalt would be in June.
Okay.
And I think they said if things go well, it would be like a 2-week process, right?
Yes, once they actually start the mill and overlay, they're anticipating about a week per street.
All right. Next up, let's go to Kip, Public Works.
Just want to let you know the north pump station, the pump's been changed out. We were kind of sweating bullets over that for a little bit, but that's all changed out. Everything's running the way it's supposed to be, so we jumped that hurdle. Well 5 water treatment plant is still down from the lightning strike that we had the first part of April. We're still waiting on parts, and of course, due to COVID-19, that's what has caused the big delay for these parts that are usually readily available. So as soon as we get them, we're hoping they don't get back ordered. This is the second go round of getting a ship date and then having noticed that they're back ordered and revising the ship date. So We're hoping they're all in by the end of next week and we can get something done with that. The filter media came in for the Northbrook Water Treatment Plant. That'll be changed out as soon as we can get the Well 5 Water Treatment Plant back online. So, other than that, it's all running in the right direction.
Okay. Town attorney? Sharon?
Nothing.
No. Okay. Finance? Karen?
Just that we're ramping up to start the audit for FY '20, so.
Okay. HR, Crystal?
We made an offer to, for the water wastewater operator position. We're just waiting to hear back if the offer is going to be accepted. Just working on open enrollment, as the open enrollment begins May 18th. So trying to get packets together. I'm still waiting for the summary of benefits to come from Cigna. But we have all the rates and new rate information, so that's the only thing left. Following up insurance claims that we have currently open, and trying to work with the legit attorney to finalize a draft for the non-DOT drug and alcohol policy, so we can present that to the council.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Carolyn, town clerk.
I'm good. I don't have anything.
Okay. We usually have a second round of citizens forum, but we've read all the comments for that. Next up is council roundtable. Tim?
Yeah, I got a couple of things I just wanted to go over. So the potential increase in the water and sewer rates is not something that any of us take lightly. This is a very difficult decision to be made. We're obviously in a terrible economic time right now. Last year, we should have done it. We should have done increased rates last year. And I specifically remember talking about how we needed to do it. Every year that it delays, it's more difficult. You're losing money every year to make up the system. We had the best economy in the recent history last year, but yet we couldn't do it because we didn't want to raise rates. That just perpetuates the problem that we're having. Just a couple of statistics, right? We have about $2.7 million in our enterprise fund right now. After this year, it'll go down to under $2.1 million. Our enterprise fund annual expenses are about $2.5 million. So we will have less than 1 year. If people don't pay, we still have to pay. And if people don't pay, then we're going to be out of money. We have delayed millions and millions of dollars worth of infrastructure improvements. These are things that have been kicked down the road for years and years and years. And as difficult as it was to do the Liberty and Commerce project last year, there's a whole bunch of other ones that are coming and that are going to get more expensive year after year after year. As it stands today, our rates, our town of Centreville rates as of today compared to Bay City and Cloverfields for an average water and sewer user is actually less than what you would pay if you're in Bay City. So the average water user is about 14,000 gallons. In the town of Centreville right now, it's about $208. Bay City, it's $249, and Cloverfield is $249 as well. So it would go up a little bit more than that. One of the public comments this afternoon was what does it look like for the average person, like the average household? So the average household, if they're a minimum service user, about 40% increase is about 50 cents a day, right? So that's 50 cents a day to be able to pay our expenses. This is not talking about putting down new infrastructure. This is just covering the expenses, right? 50 cents a day. For the average service user, again, about 14,000 gallons per quarter, it's about 91 cents a day. Yeah, it's a lot of money if you take it out over 365 days. But every year that our balance goes down and down and down becomes extremely dangerous. And what it would also do is it will prevent us from ever getting any kind of loans in the future. Or those loans would be extremely expensive. The other thing I wanted to share is that my wife had sent me an email today about the coronavirus and lockdowns and how things are, opening up a little bit more today. One of the things that they're talking about is the outdoors is not only a good for your mental state, it's also a safer place than the indoors. Many cities are now expanding outdoor activities. Oakland has closed almost 10% of their roads to traffic, CNN noted. Cincinnati is closing parts of 25 streets so restaurants can expand outdoor seating. The Cincinnati Enquirer reported, San Jose may let restaurants open in parking lots and public parks. The Mercury News reported, several states are reopening beaches, parks, and golf courses. You know, we went through a very difficult sidewalk expansion a couple of years ago. While the restaurants have been closed, we haven't really seen a lot of success there, but this is possibly an opportunity for those restaurants maybe to get some more business once they do end up opening. And I think that if we were able to look at, and maybe Carol can look at, what are some other areas, maybe if we were to temporarily relax some of the rules, maybe having outdoor markets or letting people shop outdoors a little bit easier. So everybody stay safe. That's all that I had. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to hope that everybody out there is doing well and the best they can in these times. And like I said, hopefully we'll get through this and things will get better. So that's all I have. I think we need to need a motion to go in closed session.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel.
I'll second that.